Hello everybody, good evening to you. Let me know if you're hearing me okay. This is Bill Bullock and I'm coming to you live today from the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. We are just about here where I am to enter into the Sabbath day. I'm looking forward to it and I hope you are too. A day of touching the holiness of the Creator of the universe, receiving from Him the blessing and an infusion of the holiness of the seventh day that He had put into it. And the first of the time we got to the seventh day of creation. Welcome to you all. This is our time to talk about the Torah, the guidebook of practical wisdom and metaphoric knowledge that the Holy One has designed for His people to use as the blueprint for life on earth, a blueprint for a kingdom of heaven-scented society that we will build bit by bit, conversation by conversation, interaction by interaction, and transaction by transaction as we go through life. We are ready to begin. This is Walking in the Light. Walking in the Light, episode number 47. Shoftim, Shin, Fe, Tet, Yod, and Mem. Shoftim is the Hebrew word, beginning at Deuteronomy 16, verse 18, continuing through chapter 21, verse 9. We are walking in the light, and the sub-theme of our year's studies are a quest to discover the secret wisdom that the Creator of the universe has encoded in Torah's timeless stories. Torah is not a book of laws. It's not a book of history. Torah is a book of stories. It is the great storyteller trying to introduce himself, his world, and his plan, and the possibilities that are open to us into a form that we can understand. We love from the time we're children to hear stories. So he tells us story after story after story. And he gives us a great storyteller named Moshe. Moses, as he's known in the Western world, to tell us these stories. We are walking in the light on a quest to discover the secret wisdom that's been encoded in Torah's timeless stories. It's such a fascinating adventure, an enterprise that we have engaged in to try to learn this timeless wisdom. So to acclimate ourselves to that, to get us out of the weekday stress and tribulation and trials that we've gone through, the emotions, the hormonal infusions we received that kept us going in the physical realm this 6 days of work. Now to get us out of that, to get us into and acclimated to the heavenly realms and to the beauty realm of our King. To do that, I have a few questions for you. A few questions that are designed to help you lift your heads, to adjust to the light of the Sabbath, and to begin to acclimate your thinking to the seventh day Sabbath level of spirituality. Here's the first question to get you thinking. This is just a warm-up. The first question to get you thinking is, if a kingdom of heaven-scented society is to be built upon the earth in our day, as it is in heaven, if that is to happen, what critical elements of infrastructure would need to lie at the heart of each city and village and each community in that kingdom of heaven-scented society? Second question, if you've got your mind thinking along the lines of a kingdom of heaven-scented society and what would it look like in the real world? Now, next question, what levels and types of servant watchmen, would need to be assigned, and what would be their specific stations, workplaces, and assignments in a kingdom of heaven-scented society in its villages, cities, and towns? Third question, what would be the essential elements of procedural due process, rules of operation under which policy making and dispute resolution, which would be inevitable in any society, would take place? What would be the essential elements of procedural due process in a kingdom of heaven-scented society? How would you resolve disputes? How would you make public policy? What would be the issues? You see, we're acclimating to the kingdom of heaven's courts. We're acclimating to listen to the wisdom of the King told through the Torah's timeless stories. Fifth question, what substantive rights would be afforded to all citizens of this kingdom of heaven-scented society? If we had such a society, what would be the inalienable rights of that city's, society's population, its citizenship. Sixth question: if and when attacked by the raging nations or the peoples of the world that imagine a vain thing, if this kingdom of heaven society was attacked, what would be its wartime rules of engagement? Who would be involved in the campaign of warfare? And what would be the rules of engagement with the raging nations and their territories? Well, Moshe, of course, has answers to all these questions, and they're included in our Parsha Shoftim, the 47th Parsha of Torah. Moshe has encoded the secret wisdom we need that we receive from the Holy One in these stories and in these discussions of the 48th Parsha, Shoftim. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. He who has eyes to see, let him embrace and run with the vision of Moshe. What kind of people are the lineal descendants of Abraham and Sarah through Yaakov supposed to be? What kind of people are we supposed to be? What are to be the key aspects of our lifestyle to differentiate us from the rest of the nations and the rest of the peoples of the world? What kind of society and culture is our people? Are the descendants of Abraham and Sarah through Yaakov and their allies? What kind of society are we supposed to build? What kind of interactions with and impact upon the people and the institutions and the religions and the armies of the raging nations are we supposed to have? Moshe has the answers. If you're interested, let's keep going. Moshe has 36 days. Our story begins. He has 36 more days to live, 5 weeks plus one sunrise to impart to the world the stunning vision of a soon and coming messianic kingdom that he has seen on the mountain. The Holy One has birthed this vision in his heart, and he can't unsee it now. And he can't go gently into that good night without telling us what he has seen and how to make it happen in real time, make it come to pass. He knows the desperate need that the world has for a kingdom of heaven-scented society to exist. Don't you know that too? Don't you look around you and see how much the world needs a kingdom of heaven-scented society, a snow globe people, a snow globe nation, to demonstrate the more excellent ways of the Creator of the universe? Don't you see what Moshe saw? The way to Messiah's place of birth has now been cleared. We know it's going to be a high hill, an area of Israel. We know that the foundational elements of Messianic society have been established and told to us by Moshe. The Shema lifestyle, listening and tuning ourselves to and beginning to resonate with and flow in tune with and in resonance with the Holy One and His words and His instructions. We know that's our lifestyle. We know that many things have been told to us about our ways of living and loving the Holy One and fearing Him and fearing His Torah, and we're doing His will and His work. We know those things, but now it's time for some legitimate logistic issues to be answered. Time to learn how to implement through inspired infrastructure this kingdom of heaven scented society in real time, in our day, in our lives. So the Holy One's going to use Moshe as his mouthpiece. He's going to tell us some more stories, give us some more pictures, paint us some more illustrations, and let us see what a kingdom of heaven scented society would look like from the infrastructure out. If we get too deep in this, let's sing the Shema. Let's get our ears attuned, our hearts attuned and open to the Holy One to hear what He may say. The Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Bayed. Amen. Listen and hear and heed and respond, O Israel. Our God is the Holy One. Our God, the Holy One, is the ultimate oneness, the ultimate unifier, a unifying unity that draws all things into His orbit unto Himself. Blessed be His glorious attributes and His kingdom forever. Amen. Moshe has begun, as we begin our Torah portion Shoftim. Moshe has already begun and gotten deeply into his second discourse on the plains of Moab. The second discourse takes up chapters 5 through 28. We're at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 area. So we're in sort of the middle or close to the end now of the second discourse on the plain. And this, if you will listen to me and hear me, beloved, tune your ears. This is Moshe's I have a dream speech. Most people in modern day America, maybe the world, are familiar with the terms I have a dream. The speech that was given by Martin Luther King in 1963, actually around this time of year, August 28, 1963, near the Jefferson Memorial, or at the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., when he was laying out, Martin Luther King, the Reverend Martin Luther King was laying out his vision for a society that actually embodied the attributes of the kingdom of heaven and brought all people together in one unity. Well, that was his dream, but his dream was based upon the Bible. His dream was based upon the stories, and including, maybe founded mostly in the stories of Moshe himself, the kingdom of heaven and society. You see, the first person to say an I have a dream speech was Moshe himself on the plains of Moab, in the parsha we're talking about now. I have a dream, Moshe would have said. A dream about what kind of people and nation is destined to come forth from Abraham's seed and ours. A dream about what kind of impact people and the nation so founded can have upon the world. A dream, you see, Moshe has been to the mountain. Moshe has seen a vision. Moshe has dreamed a dream. And Moshe's dream is not of some utopia that somehow will come forth because men become more enlightened, and because the innate goodness of mankind will suddenly rise to the surface and they'll self-improve themselves into some sort of a utopian society. That's not the way this is going to happen. That cannot happen. Moshe's dream is not of some utopia springing forth from man's ideas, out of man's self-improvement plans. Moshe's dream involves very real adversity being encountered and overcome. Moshe's dream involves very real temptations common to men being seen for what they are and effectively resisted day after day after day. Moshe's dream involves very dark forms and faces of evil being discerned and faced up to and defeated soundly. Moshe's vision, Moshe's dream that he dreamt, is of powerful releases of redemptive energy and power from the heavenlies. Restoration energy being offered to every broken soul of the earth, every broken household of the nations, every broken bloodline, every broken failed community, every broken failed nation, and every failed fallen continent of the earth. Moshe has dreamt a dream. Have you caught the vision yet? His dream is far more ambitious than any philosopher's utopian fantasy could ever hope to be. Moshe's dream, the dream that he dreamed, necessarily includes times and seasons of war. But war not for the sake of conquest as the nations do it, not for the sake of colonization as the greedy peoples that imagine vain things do, not for the sake of vengeance or revenge or punishment or profit, not for those reasons. Heaven forbid. War, yes, but war for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. War for the sake of redemption coming to all mankind. War for the sake of restoration coming to every parcel of land on earth. War for the sake of healing the nations and healing the wounds. War for the sake of clearing the way for the Messiah and laying the strong foundation for every household on earth to have a legitimate shot at what we call Bayit Shalom, peace, wholeness, wellness in the home, based in the home. Well, Moshe will say in this week's parsha, when you go out to battle against your enemies, he knows his vision, his dream, knows that there will be war. When you go out to battle against your enemies, Moshe will say this week, and you see horses and chariots or tanks and weaponry and missiles and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them. Do not be afraid of them. For the Holy One your God is with you, he will say. Shema Yisrael, hear, listen, and pay attention and resonate, O Israel. Today you are on the verge of battle with your enemies. Do not let your heart faint. Do not be afraid. and do not tremble or be terrified because of them, for the Holy One your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save and deliver you. Well, some may not be ready for this kind of vision. Indeed, many people among us even will be just too conflicted by other priorities, by other desires and appetites. Did you just buy a new house? Moshe will tell the priests to ask. Did you just build or buy a new house? Well, you're exempt. Go your way. Are you just starting out a new business? Did you just plant a new vineyard? Well, just go in peace and tend your vineyard well and send us a basket of fruit, you might say. Did you just get betrothed or married or start a new relationship? Pursue that relationship with your whole heart. You're excused. Are you overcome with fear, terror, and dread? Are you immobilized by those factors? Well, stand down. Step aside. Take a breath. We'll visit again maybe next year about this. Well, now, beloved, if you're still here, if you're still listening, if you're still willing, I have a few more questions. First question, have you dreamt Moshe's dream for a kingdom of heaven-centered society? Do you know what you're being called to stand up for and fight for? Do you know the end game of this great season of war? Do you understand and are you willing to abide by the King's rules of engagement in this season of warfare? Do you even know the mission for which we're here on earth? To disentangle and diverge from all the nations and cultures of the world, to be a different people, a counterbalancing people, a counterculture people. And at every critical crossroads we meet, to partner and co-labor with the Holy One and not with the nations, not with the world. And co-partner and labor with the Holy One to build a kingdom of heaven-centered society, bit by bit, transaction by transaction, conversation by conversation, relationship by relationship, as we meet, as we serve as a light to the nations. Now we need a strategy briefing to know how to build this kingdom of heaven-centered society, how to build the infrastructure out of which it will arise, starting with the blueprint for the kingdom of heaven-centered society's infrastructure and its model of leadership. We will need a model of leadership, and this will be provided for us today. This weekend, as we study Parsha Shoftim, we'll see the categories of leadership and the protocols of leadership and the standards of leadership in the kingdom of heaven-centered society. We have 8 things we're supposed to bring to the earth, 8 aspects of heavenly wisdom and truth and beauty that we're supposed to bring. First is light. We are vessels, we are soldiers, we are bringers of the light, carriers of the light in the world, the light of the heavens. We are bringers of fruitfulness at maximal levels, being the most, producing and providing to the world the best that we can do. We are to be tools, vessels of harmonious, synergistic interaction, not dividing, not separating, not defeating other peoples that are trying, about doing the Holy One's will and causing unity to break forth as he would have it break forth. We're to be vessels of shalom. We're to bring shalom wherever we go. Calmness, wellness, wholeness, fullness. Shalom. That's what we're supposed to bring. Tikva, hope. We're not supposed to be people of despair, not people of anguish, not people of depression. We're supposed to be people of great hope, the hope of the Holy One. We're supposed to be people of tikkun. Whenever other people see problems, we see solutions. When other people see tragedies and difficulties and wrong things going on in the world, evildoers doing evil deeds, whenever other people see those things, we see, but how can we fix it? How can we make it better? How can we start where we are and bring redemption and restoration and wholeness back into the picture? And we're to be vessels of tov, goodness, fruitfulness, that sense of continually blessing with like a fountain flowing constantly with living water, bringing life into the world. That's what we're supposed to be bringing. So welcome to the infrastructure blueprint Moshe's got in his beautiful stories. Parsha Shoftim. What is infrastructure? We're talking about kingdom infrastructure here. And that's a word that's gotten a lot of press in this day and age, but I want to talk to you about infrastructure from a heavenly standpoint, from the Holy One's standpoint. Infra, the prefix to this word, infrastructure. Infra means below or underneath, or as in supporting. Sustaining. What sustains our culture, our kingdom of heaven-centered society? What are the foundation stones? What are the support mechanisms that keep it flowing and keep it supporting, keep it balanced? So infrastructure is the underlying structural elements that sustain and support a country or organization, particularly in this case, the kingdom of heaven-centered group of people descended from Abraham through Yaakov, and then associated with all those who ally with him through the covenant. In a house, we talk about infrastructure. The infrastructure is the network of beams and joists underneath, the weight-bearing walls underneath the foundation that combine to keep the house standing in the wind, in the rain, in the storms, and the shakings of the earth, and all the trials and tribulations. This house stands because the infrastructure is strong and supports the house. Now, if you go to modern politico speak, the idea of infrastructure is the nation's power grid, its water and sewer systems, its network of streets and roads and bridges and dams, its railways, its subways, its airports, its harbors, its army bases, its supply chain, its medical institutions, its schools, its communications and internet providers, all those things that are considered essential functions. Why is infrastructure so important, both to modern society and political systems and to the kingdom of heaven-centered society we're supposed to build? Why is infrastructure so important? Why do we really need a structure at all? Why not just let every man, every woman, every child, every little group do what he, she, or it thinks is right? Why not just be moral? Why not go Darwinian and let the survival of the fittest work its way out, as he would say? Why not just get over all this stuff about kingdom of heaven-centered society and just adapt, adjust, evolve, survive, or perish like the rest of the nations do? That's why the rest of the nations are gone, and Israel stands and will stand forever. We are a kingdom of heaven-centered society. At least that's what we're called to be. We have a responsibility to build the infrastructure and live out of the infrastructure as well. So if we're supposed to have this infrastructure, why? Why these specific things? Or why are the specific things Moshe talks about in Parsha Shoftim so important? What are the objectives he's trying to achieve in society in general and in our society in particular? Our houses, our households, our families, our marriages, our family relationships, our business transactions, our communities. What is he trying to make happen? The courtroom of heaven, the throne and the courtroom of heaven are our example, our model. We are supposed to look like the courts of heaven in human form on earth. His decrees, his wisdom, his downloads, those are supposed to be our mandate. This week, we're going to learn many things. But let's say our call to worship. Let's join our hearts together and our voices together to sing the call to worship, the Baraku, to get ready to hear the exact words, the precise words the Holy One wishes to speak to us through Moshe, his storyteller. This is the blessing we say before reading from the Torah, the Baraku. Baraku et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Bayet. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. Blessed is he who is blessed in the source of all blessing. Blessed is he who is blessed forever and ever, world without end. Blessed are you, O Holy One, our God, King of the universe, who has set us apart from all of the peoples of the earth by giving us his Torah. Blessed are you, Holy One, who has given us the giver of the Torah. And now we join together and we ask with the psalmist to open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah, for we're just strangers in this earth, so please do not hide your commandments, your instructions for living from us. And now gather round, children of the Most High, The storyteller is ready to begin to open his mouth and let it flow. The wisdom of heaven, the downloads, the infrastructure plans. It's story time again. Where did we end off last week? Where did the storyteller stop our discussions last week? In Moshe's diverging pathways vision. He went up on top of Mount Pisgah, and in the heavenly realms, and seated in the heavenly realms where he was, he could see what was laying before us, and two pathways were diverging. The choice of the bridegroom king going the narrow road that leads to life, and the other road that was diverging the other way was a narrow path that leads to the wide path, the broad path that leads to destruction, the path of the runaway bride people. Well, he said these two pathways are diverging before us, and you have to choose at different crossroads which pathway you will take. As the second discourse on the plain, the I have a dream, the discourse of Moshe approached its midpoint, Moshe began to lay out in concrete terms his vision, his dream for the society that we are to construct in the Promised Land and then export to the nations. And as Moshe did this, so he took care to point out that that grand vision was going to be something the Holy One was going to use to bless the world, fix the families of the world. And it would be in stark contrast, counterbalance to the model of the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Egyptians and the other raging nations. Cultures there are ruled by offense and outrage and division and separation, dominated by Ra, evil, Shakat, corruption, and Hamas, violence and cruelty. Dominated by those things, that's the societies of the world, of the raging nations. So we're supposed to be the counterbalance to that. So what do we do? How did he lay it out? He said last week at the end of Parsha Re'eh, the Pathways Parsha, Deuteronomy 16 through 17, he said, Shalosh pa'amin b'shana, 3 times a year. 3 times a year we're to do something. All your males, he said, all your men, male children also are to appear before the face, the manifest presence of the Holy One your God. We're to be in his presence. We're to be in his courts. We're to go where he is. We're to experience his unique power and his majesty and his goodness and his beauty. We're to go to that place 3 times a year at Hag HaMatzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Then again at Hag HaShavuot, the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost. And then again at Hag HaSukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And he says, when we go, you're not to appear before the Holy One empty-handed, re'echam, impoverished, or used up. You're there ready to be empowered and strengthened, and to bring with you the blessings and the gratitude gifts that you would give to share with your fellow travelers. Now we have the opening lines of this week's Parsha Shoftim, Kingdom Infrastructure, Leadership Model Parsha. Deuteronomy 16, verse 18 reads this way, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha. You are to set judges and officials for yourselves. Bechol she'areka, in all your gates. Asher Adonai noten lach lishpateka, that the Holy One your God will give to you and for your tribes. V'shavtu et ha'am mishpat tzedek, and they are to shapat. They are to judge the people with justice and judgment. Lo tate mishpat, you must not water down or dilute the judgment. Lo takir panim, you must not distinguish or consider foreign alien faces and what they would say or want you to say. Ulo tikak shokad, and you must not take a bribe or a favor, securing benefit from anybody so to make you in any way partisan or partial to one side or another. Ki hakoshokad ya'ur einei hakmim, for the bribe blinds the eyes of the wise. V'salof divrei zadikim, and it would twist the words and the ways and teachings of the righteous ones, the foundation layers of the society. Tzedek Zedek Tirdov, straightness and plumbness and level and structural solidness you must pursue. Stay on the pathway of Zedek Tirdov. Lema'an tikye ve'yarashta et ha'aretz, in order that you may inherit and dwell in the land. Asher Adonai Eloheka noten lak, that the Holy One, your God, is going to entrust to you in stewardship. That's the beginning of the Parsha, the beginning of 7 Aliyot. It begins with discussion of who we put in the gates. The infrastructure begins with the gatekeepers. Who will be stationed, and what will be the motivation, and what will be the modus operandi? What will be the ways and the ways of dealing with life that are given to the gatekeepers? What will be the due process rules they apply? Second Aliyah, Deuteronomy 17, 14 through 20. The vision of a great king to come, the Messianic kingdom, the one who rules and reigns over the earth. This will be the great king. It's not the King David. It's not King Solomon. There are things that differentiate him in the description of the king that mean that it can't be David. It can't be Solomon. This has to be Messiah himself. Do you have a vision for the king? The king and his messianic standard that he will lift up for the nations. The third Aliyah, Deuteronomy 18, 1 through 5. In Deuteronomy 18, 1 through 5, the Holy One's going to use Moshe to talk to him about another group of people in every community, the priests of that community, the Levites that are assigned to that community, to keep the spiritual note, to keep fear of the Holy One to be flowing, and awareness and consciousness of the greater plan, the greater good, always alive and active. The leadership team of the priests and the Levites in each community. And then the fourth Aliyah will be Deuteronomy 18, verses 6 through 13. That will be the thing that the Holy One will put into each of our villages and towns, and into each of our households for that matter. Watchmen, to watch versus the occult, to watch versus the witches and the warlocks and the wizards and the charlatans of the earth, of the raging nations. Those things are not be part of our households, part of our cities, part of our nation, part of the society that has a kingdom sent to it. And then the fifth Aliyah is Deuteronomy 18, verse 14 through 19, verse 13. That's the discussion of the prophet, the great mouthpiece of the creator of the universe, who is incorporeal and does not have vocal cords or wind. He will speak through his prophet, the prophet unto whom Yeshua is likened in the Gospels and the stories. The prophet, and then the other aspect of it is the cities of refuge of this particular Aliyah of the Parsha. He will talk about cities of refuge. We will be have something unique to all the nations of the world. We will be people who believe in refuge, who believe in hope, who believe in opportunities to have a fair trial, not to allow the avenger of blood, the hater, the one who is moved by great emotion, stirred by great vengeance, lust, to be able to operate. We will have a calming system, a system of reprieve, a system of refuge. We were to be that kind of a people. The sixth Aliyah will be Deuteronomy 19, verse 14 through 20, verse 9. This is the Bill of Rights of the kingdom, the essential, substantive, and procedural due process rights of citizens of this kingdom of heaven-scented society. Do you know what your rights are? You know what, in the kingdom of heaven, what you must value the rights of others as well. You know where the rights of you and other people intersect and could potentially conflict and crash and collide. Do you know how to maneuver those collisions and to heal and redeem and restore, as opposed to being offended, angry, and unforgiving toward your brother? Seventh Aliyah, Deuteronomy 20, verse 10 through chapter 21, verse 9. What happens whenever we are attacked and we must go to war? What happens whenever the world needs to be cleansed of some group of people who are too toxic, too dangerous to allow to continue, or they will destroy the equilibrium of the world? Wartime, rules of engagement. That's the basic substance of our Parsha. What a study we will have about kingdom infrastructure and Moshe's dream. I have a dream. This is his dream about what a kingdom of heaven-scented society will look like and will consist of. He's going to give us a crash course a crash course in bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth, being part of it in every conversation we have, interaction, keeping that being the vision and the intention, not getting our rights vindicated or our names elevated. Our crash course will also be in what to learn from the bad example that is set for us by the raging nations. Don't look for anything good from the raging nations. Don't look for anything good from the raging nations or their governments or their political systems or their economic systems. Don't look for anything good to come from that. Understand, we need to learn the lessons from the bad examples set by the raging nations. We need to know where they went wrong, why they went wrong, where they have gone wrong, and how they have gone so terribly wrong that the holy land of Israel would vomit them out, as is happening to the Canaanite, and is happening to the Amorites and the other ites of the nations. Do you understand why the land is convulsing and what the politicians and the scientists of the world clamor about being climate change? Why is the land vomiting out its inhabitants? Why is it rebelling against the wickedness going on in the world? Well, you understand where the peoples of the nations have gone wrong. There must know stories. The stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, of Gerar, and the land of the Philistines, of Shechem, and the land of at the base of Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim in the Promised Land. We must understand the human trafficking culture that facilitated Joseph's odyssey and trip to Egypt in the first place. We must understand the Pharaoh cult of Egypt and the nation naturalism worship, Father Time and Father and Mother Nature, and all the weirdness of the naturalist religions that people do. Where did they go wrong? Why did they go wrong? And why is it so dangerous? It seems so simple. It's dangerous. And how can we keep, as a kingdom of heaven and society, as the people of the more excellent way, as the snow globe people of the creator of the universe, designed to lead and be a light to the world, how can we keep from making the same mistakes? Well, we know the basics. It starts with shemaing the voice of the Holy One, learning to differentiate his beautiful voice of wisdom and understanding and compassion and love from the raging nations screaming and hollering and accusing and demanding. It starts with shemaing. It goes to what we treasure and cherish, shemaring. It goes to that which we think is valuable enough to keep and guard. It goes on to assign, what we will take and build, what we're trying to build out of our houses and out of our family lines, what we're trying to build out of our communities. What are we trying to build? Do we have a vision? Have we dreamt Moshe's dream? It goes on to many different facets of the kingdom we've talked about. But right now we need to understand that we have to start with the micro infrastructure. We must learn to fear of the Holy One and trust in his goodness. We must learn the Shema lifestyle, how to listen and not act until he tells us to do things, to follow his words that are written and his words that are spoken. And those are what gives us our guidance. To say, as the psalmist said in Psalm 40, I come in the volume of the book of those things which are written to do your will, because that's what your will is, what is written in the book. I come in the volume of the book to do your will, O God. I delight to do your will. That's the micro infrastructure. Now let's talk about the macro infrastructure. Gatecraft. It starts with our gatecraft, introducing what I call gatecraft. What could possibly go wrong in our gates, in our places of interaction, of our places of intersection, of our places where transactions of business take place? What could possibly go wrong in our relational environments, our forums when we talk with one another and we interact with the nations? What could possibly go wrong? Oh, beloved, so much could go wrong. There are networks of propaganda and lies being spread, and mostly we buy into that. We think that's true. And we take the division and the hate that people spew out about one another to propagandize on their own behalf and to pull us over into their toxicity. And therefore, if we let that be the governing factor, if we let our own feelings, our own appetites and urges, our own greed, our own hunger, if we let that be what guides us, our own lust, all those things, if we let that, our own jealousies, our ethnic jealousies, our social jealousies, our jealousies about age groups and generations, if we let these things bother us, then our gates will be a disaster. The transactions will be loaded dice. Matthew 18:7, we will have offenses. But the Messiah, the Master, said, woe, alas, oi in Hebrew, oi to the world, because of offenses, because of what happens in the gates. For offenses will come, they do come, that is the natural course of operation in places that are affected by the raging nations. Offenses will come, but woe, oi, to the man by whom the offense comes. Offense, scandalon. In Greek, to cause you to stumble and trigger and not walk straight. Mikshol, rather in Hebrew, to cause to stumble as if drunk or under the influence of alcohol or drugs or some other wound. So go the gates, beloved, of this kingdom of heaven in society. So go the gates of our interactions with other people, of our interactions with one another and with other people. As so go the gates, so goes the city, and so goes the kingdom. So goes the snow globe people. So goes the mission. So goes the grand plan of the Holy One in our generation. As go the gates, so go the city. Well, what's happening in your gates? A gate is a place where things are divided or parceled out. Sha'ar is the Hebrew word. It means divide out. If you imagine having a marketplace and paying money, you take part of your silver in your sack and you divide it up and you give it for the merchandise. And the merchant takes part of the merchandise he's been putting on his table or his display case and he gives it to you and he divides up his merchandise. These things are division, of separation, of parceling out. Business transactions, currency for merchandise. These things are what happens in your gates. It happens in the physical realm like a marketplace. Same thing happens in a forum. We change, instead of using money and merchandise, we use ideas, we use feelings, we use our opinions, we traffic in such things. You can see in religion it comes to theologies and doctrines and dogmas. We traffic in these things, become things we do in our gates. In the natural physical realm, our gates are where we transact basic business of communal life. It can happen in a house. Your gates are where you have a conversation with your spouse or with your children. In the ancient world, the gate of a city or a village, you should understand this, the gates of a city or a village in the ancient world was a center of all social and economic life. Everything happened in or around the gates of a city. In peacetime, when it was peaceful outside, the gates functioned as a combination of a marketplace and a community center, a city hall, an armory, a newsstand, a political, philosophical stump for people to talk. Public announcements got made at the gates. Taxes were assessed and paid and collected by the authorities at the gates. Prophets went about the gate to prophesy and tell their visions. King's representatives went to the gate to present matters on behalf of the king, decrees he had issued, policies he had enacted. Legal matters, controversies, disputes were handled and resolved at the gates. Just about anything a person might need to desire or buy or learn was available at the gates. The gates of a city, a village, a palace, an estate, or a soul were more than swinging doors of ingress and egress. They were multi-dimensional towers, places where people did transactions, interactions, conversations. So how are your gates? What kind of behavior is happening in your gates? Is there shalom in your gates? Are you spreading shalom as people come into your gates and as people exit your gates? When people come together, their agendas will collide. Do you understand that there is a challenge to shalom every time two people come together? When personal agendas collide, what will you do? How will you handle it? How will you escalate the situation or will you de-escalate the situation? Will you try to figure out who's right, who's wrong, and punish the wrongdoer? Or will you try to redeem the situation, the relationship, and the direction of the nation? What will you do in your gates? How will you handle dispute and offense resolution in the kingdom of heaven-centered society that will mark us off as different and much higher and much more beautiful than what's going on in the raging nations? How will we create a drama-free and a vengeance-free zone in the world? That's our mission. First of all, let's understand what an offense is. We're going to be learning how to deal with offenses in the gates. Offenses between ethnicities, offenses between families, offenses between individuals, offenses between groups. Offenses, they're so everywhere. Every time people come together and their agendas conflict, we have offenses. That's the way of the raging nations. Shekah, or Ra, Shekat, and Hamas come out. An offense is what? An offense is any negative emotion or attitude that our minds attach to a person or a group of people for any reason. Let me read that again, or say that again. Any negative emotion or attitude that our minds attach to a person or a group of people for any reason. Whenever we just don't feel good about somebody else, or we're angry about somebody else, or something they did, or some behavior. Now, we're to be a kingdom of heaven-centered society. We're to be bringers of light and of shalom, of hope, of productivity and fruitfulness. We must learn, if we're going to do this, we're going to learn how to hold on to our shalom, to value and treasure the benefit of shalom, peace, wholeness, wellness, fullness from the Holy One. Learning to hold on to our shalom, hold on to our joy, the joy He has birthed in us by being His creatures and His called ones, His covenant partners. The joy of knowing Him, of seeing the beauty of His plan, the goodness of who He is. Our joy. We're holding on to our joy. We have to hold on to our trust, our ability to say, you're doing all things well. You're bringing good to pass out of every situation. So I just need to have patience and listen to your words and follow your instructions in the meantime. And I believe I will see the Redeemer come. I will see the redemption come. And I will see the restoration come if I am patient and wait and then do what you say in the meantime. We need to learn to hold on to humility, not become arrogant, not become proud, not become offended. We need to hold on to our gentleness, to be the people who do not react in kind when people get angry and shout and yell or throw insults or throw weapons or shoot missiles. Learn how to operate and hold on to our good, operate in and hold on to our goodness and our self-control. You see, these factors sound like the fruit of the Spirit as used in the Brit Hadashah, in the renewed covenant. You see, this is all being read because this has been our mission all along. This has been our calling all along. The world has many offense triggers, and we're supposed to recognize them and know them and deal with them in our gates before they get loose in the world. This dealing with offense triggers, keeping our shalom and our joy and our emunah, our faith and our trust in the Holy One, our gentleness, our goodness, our humility, our self-control, keeping those things in the face of the offense triggers that the world throws at us is mission critical for people of the great King. It's the proof in the pudding of whether we are truly redeemed by the Holy One or not. The rest of the world, you see, is in cruel bondage to offense. Offense, they thrive on it, yet they hate it. What are we called to do in the face of offense? We're called to bend our pride, our ego, our opinions, and our emotions low, not to them, to the Holy One, and to enable the passage of ourselves through the straight gate of the covenant into the very presence of the Holy One to get His directions and His instructions as to how to handle, how to de-escalate the problem on earth. Do it in the gates. So before forming, much less ever speaking or expressing any opinion about who is right or who is wrong in any given situation, we're called to bite our lip, hold our tongue, reserve judgment for at least long enough to give everybody a fair hearing in front of an unbiased tribunal, a Beit Din, that will conduct a calm, orderly, reasonable, and impartial evaluation according to rules of procedural due process and trustworthy eyewitness testimony, not biased, not parties to the litigation, not propagandists. And we are to learn to speak the calm, wise, gentle voice of the righteous, of Zedekim, of those who are builders, and those who offer a pathway to healing through real and forward-looking solutions as opposed to judgments of who's right, wrong, good and bad, evil. So a question for you at this stage of our discussion, a really important question to ask you as we go into the Sabbath, as we go into Sabbath Shoftim in particular. How prone are you to offense? How easily do you get offended? How badly, how severely do you get offended? How long do you hold on to an offense? The wisdom of the Torah, of the Holy One, is that great shalom, great peace have those who love the Torah, and nothing shall offend them. This is the goal we're trying to achieve, where we're unoffendable, when we are dead to this flesh and dead to the pseudo-intellect and the right and wrong arguments of the earth and the moral and immoral arguments of the earth, and we become only involved with the will of the Holy One, doing His will in every given situation, bringing redemption and light and hope into every conflict and communication. So offense is a disturbance of the communion of a person with the Creator. If you want to understand what an offense is, it means you've broken the connection, or something has caused the connection between you and the Creator to be broken, where there's no interaction, where there's a disconnection. That's what offense means. You've broken communion with the Holy One. And what that means is that there's going to be a natural fruit of that. When you break communion and break connection with the Holy One, immediately anxiety and anger and frustration and worry and jealousy and rage and fruitlessness and fear begin to come in. And what is lost is the state of fruitfulness and wholeness and shalom and harmonious interaction that the Holy One's presence and connection with that presence brings to us. So what are the telltale signs that you're offended? If you're angry. If you're angry, that's your telltale sign. That's your emotions saying, warning, danger, danger. This thing could possibly blow up on you. That's what anger tells you. It's not a thing to rejoice in or celebrate. It's not a thing to say, this is my righteous indignation. Anger is a warning sign, like the red light on the dashboard of your car that says, check engine soon, major mechanical troubles in place. So anger is your first sign. Irritation, aggravation. If you're irritated, if you're aggravated, if you're on edge, you see you've been disconnected from the Holy One. And this is what causes controversies in the gates, places where there's a conflict, a crashing, a colliding of personal agendas and rights. Resentment comes into play and provides conclusive evidence of offense, which in itself is conclusive evidence of separation, disconnection from the Holy One. And then you see people who complain. That's a telltale sign. Complaining instead of giving thanks and expressing gratitude and being hopeful, complaining is a telltale sign that offense has come upon you. Ranting, if you see someone saying, I got to rant, understand that's a telltale sign. They're telling you they are toxic right now. And they are disconnected from the Holy One. And what they say is going to be the exact opposite of what the Holy One would tell you to say or would do to fix the problem. People do engage in name calling and label sliming, label shaming, and call people names and all that use chanted slogans and accusations. That's the language of offense. That's the language of gates that are crashing down around us because no one was a keeper in the gates. We were not a kingdom of heaven sent society. We let the trash come in and the anger come in. People who plot retaliations, who plan to hurt other people for what they've done to them. Those are sure signs of what I call offense derailment syndrome. Well, the fact is that human beings do have conflicting agendas and different feelings, and sometimes when we come together in the gates, we see that there is going to be a conflict. Careful. Each human interaction is a potential war zone, a snare, at least a trigger for something that might happen, something that has happened in the past and reactivates a feeling or a sensation or anxiety or an offense. Since Eden has happened and the garden has been put in our rearview mirror. People tend to be fire and straw when they come together. Oil and water, they tend to divide, not co-labor. They tend to have divergent and often incompatible attitudes. Do you see the problem? Do you have different perspectives on life? They have different agendas and priorities. They have different comfort zones, different levels of comfort zones. They have different commitments that they need to fulfill or they feel under an obligation to fulfill. They have different levels of dedication to the Torah or to the Holy One in general. They have different beliefs. They have different sowing and reaping cycles that they're operating under. They have different levels of fear of the Holy One, reverence of His name, of His goodness, of His presence. They have different consciousness of who He is and what He's here about, what the plan of the Holy One is. They have different trigger points and bullet buttons for their common and unique areas of brokenness. It's a recipe for disaster every time we commune with other people. Every time we get online and have a communication there. Every time we go to a workplace or a marketplace or to a parking lot or on the street and we meet someone on the street, it's a minefield that could result in offense. But our job is to keep keepers, watchers, guardians in the gates. Well, we don't want to have trespasses and sins. We don't want to have temptations. We don't want to have offenses, incitements, or insults. We want to deal with our offenses in the spiritual way. We want to submit them to the Holy One. We're supposed to be different than the nations. We deal with our offenses a lot different. How do we deal with our offenses? We adjudicate and we forgive. We are to prefer mercy over judgment. We are to prefer mercy over judgment. We are to prefer well-reasoned and forward-looking solutions that facilitate healing over punishing the wrongdoer, getting retribution against the sinner, and revenge against those who have caused us the offense. This is where leadership comes in. The leadership model of the Torah is going to be spelled out. We're going to talk about the judges in the gates. We're going to be talking about the Levites and the priests in the communities and the villages. We're going to be talking about the king who sits on the throne, the center of it all. We're going to talk about the prophet who speaks on behalf of the king to the peoples as he goes through the nation. We're going to be talking about the leaders of the military who know when to and who to call and what to do and how to not violate the other people's plans, God's plan for the other peoples of the world. Leadership. What is leadership? Leadership in the kingdom is what happens when an individual that has an understanding of a group's potential as well as its weaknesses and has a vision for the group's future and the plans of the Holy One for it, inspires and motivates and guides and counsels people and assigns tasks to them and provides a model for them and lives in such a way, with such a lifestyle that it models for other people in the community and the collective how to face and solve problems rather than stew in them and be immobilized by them. How to navigate through negative emotions and seasons of negative emotion and mood and offense rather than give in to those things and be absorbed by those and wallow in them and act out or based on them. And how leadership tells how to overcome and grow through challenges rather than be demoralized or destroyed by them. In Hebrew thought, beloved, to lead is not a means of controlling or of self-enrichment at the expense of other people. It's a form of selfless service, avodah. The Hebrew word most commonly referred to as leadership, and what we're talking about in this parsha is leadership in our communities, in our nation. The Hebrew word most commonly used is nahal, nun, he, lamed. This is an ancient verb taken from the world of animal husbandry, raising animals, caring for animals, especially sheep and shepherds. It means to walk a little ways in front of your herd or flock, serving as the guide, the one who goes before, that chooses the route, the waymaker, the guide, and knowing and taking care of and providing for each animal's basic needs, and the herd, serving as the herd flock's guardian and protector, and being a calm and wise disciplinarian in the gates as necessary, and being an accountable, responsible custodian. That's true leadership. That's nahal, being a shepherd that takes care of sheep. Well, kingdom of heaven-centered leadership and a kingdom of heaven-centered society comes in many forms. We've talked about some of those different levels. The whole idea of the leadership is to know at what level, when offenses come, we will be able to deal with it without resorting to the warfare ways and the angry ranting of the raging nations. When offenses inevitably come, when challenges inevitably appear in our nation, in our communities, in our marriages, in our homes, when problems arise, as they are wont to do in this world, there have to be stark differences between the ways the covenant people of the Holy One deal with such things and the ways the raging nations and the vain imagination peoples of the earth and their ethnicities do. So, as we wind down our discussions and you wind up your ability to think through and walk through and talk through these parsha tomorrow or later today, what are the essential elements of the kingdom of heaven-centered leadership model? What will leaders do? How do you recognize a true leader in the kingdom of heaven-centered society? Whether it be in the position or doing the function of a Shoftim, of a judge, of a king, of a Levite, of a priest, of a prophet, of a witness and testimony and a proceeding, of the host of the armies, of the wisdom of the elders of the communities, whatever position or function we're talking about. What are the essential elements of the leadership we're expecting from them? And what does the kingdom of heaven-centered infrastructure plan consist of? And what levels do we deal with disputes and resolve them? Well, we are to establish judges in our midst. Actually, the word is Shoftim. We're to do something. We're to have this word, English word judgment is misleading and somewhat deceptive. So what is it about? Mishpat is the Hebrew word. What does it mean? It's from the verb root shafat, shin, pe, tet. Shafat means to set in order, not out of order, not haphazardly, to set in structured order, strategic order, construction materials or components, set them in place in strategic sequence in accordance with the divine plan and blueprint. Things in order, putting things in order. So a shofet, a king, a judge, as it's called in this Torah, as the English versions of the translations of the Torah, a judge is just one who sets things in line in an appropriate way, who sets things in line for healing and restoration, who keeps things going smoothly. First usage of a word with this root, shafat, was Genesis 16:5, a conversation between Sarai and Avram, our ancestors, our mother, father, patriarch, matriarch team. Sarah was dealing with Hagar, and she said, I give my maid Hagar, Avram, into your embrace. I gave her into your embrace after Ishmael was born. But when she saw that she had conceived, I became minimized, marginalized in her eyes, invaluable in her eyes. And may the Holy One then set things in order. May He shafat regarding you and me. May He fix this between me and you. It's broken. May You fix it. Now we understand what it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's not who gets punished. It's about how do we fix this. Do you understand? This is what the basic essence of the kingdom of heaven-centered society is about. How do we fix the mess we've got? Shoftim, in Western thought, a judge is just a judicial officer wearing a black robe usually, someone appointed or elected by governmental authority or the people in an election to decide certain kinds of disputes and prosecutions over which he has no personal stake or investment. But a Hebrew shofet brings the wisdom of heaven into real life situations and brings tikkun, fixing, healing, restoration into the equation. So, what was the requirements of a shofet? We're all supposed to be shoftim in our gates, beloved. Shoftim in the gates of our family life. Shoftim in the gates of the disputes between our children and our spouse and ourselves and our spouse and other people and ourselves and other people. We're supposed to be Shoftim. We're supposed to be those who bring and access the wisdom of heaven. And instead of using offenses and emotions and anxieties and trope into the situation, and cliches that don't matter, and accusations, instead of bringing all that to bear on situations, to instead bring the calm, healing wisdom of heaven to bear on the situation. That's what we're supposed to do. And what are we supposed to do? Zedek. We're supposed to do Zedek. In English it says righteousness. Righteousness. Boy, is this a word that has gotten some bad interpretations from the English language. Zedek. It comes from the world of construction, of carpentry, of building things. It means to make straight, to bring to plumb, to make level, to make solid. This is all foundational, right? We're building an infrastructure, which is a support mechanism. So we need the support mechanism to be plumb, to be level, to be square. We need the basic things of solidarity. And so this is what Zedek is. Zedek. Zedek you shall pursue. You shall aim for. Always aim for that which is going to be a strong foundation, a strong foundational support for the society and for the world, as opposed to being something that causes collapse and destruction and promotes one agenda over another. So Zedek means to make straight, to bring to plumb, to bring to square, to make level, to make solid, so as to comply with best construction practices, to bear weight, to bear up under stress, to endure stresses and storms, shakings, and provide habitability and functionality and support and refuge for the world. You understand what that's all about? So what are we not supposed to do? We're supposed to be Shoftim in the gates and every controversy. We're supposed to bring the healing power of the Holy One. What would derail us, first of all? That would be favoring one person or another based upon any reason, particularly being poor or being rich. If we favor the rich, we lose Zedek. If we favor the poor over the rich, we lose Zedek. This is not about underdogs winning. This is about fixing the world, about laying a good solid foundation for the world to continue. So another thing that would derail us would be to subvert the rights of the needy. They must not be forsaken just because they are not don't have strong social voices. They should not be favored, but they should not be forsaken. Not rendering any decision that strays from the just path. That would be anathema to the Shoftim's role. Favoring the poor or showing deference to the rich, either one, it would be lo Zedek, not Zedek. Being a respecter of persons or of groups or of ethnicity in any regard, in applying the solutions the Holy One has given us to fix the offenses and disputes of the world. Being a respecter of persons in any regard would be lo Zedek. So these are the basic things. So what should we aim at? Conflict resolution, not perpetuation of disputes and offenses. Community healing and reunification should be our goal, not perpetuation of this group's plan and ways over another. Not trying to replace one group of evildoers with another group of evildoers. Again, this is Moshe's I have a dream speech. And if you want to understand what he's talking about, you might go back and read Martin Luther King's I have a dream speech from August 28th of 1963 at the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. You see the elements of conflict resolution, community healing and reunification, not replacing one group of angry men with another group of angry men. What has no place whatsoever in Zedek, in the mishpat of the kingdom of heaven, of the light that we're supposed to bring and the hope that we're supposed to bring. Considerations given to age or gender or socioeconomic class or ethnicity or race or skin color or pigmentation or national origin or political or ideological affiliation or a family name or of group association or of religious affiliation or of institutional association. These things are not to be bases of making any decision or in engaging in any behavior. No blame casting. You hear blame casting, you know it's not Zedek. You hear personal agenda advancement, it's not Zedek. Vengeance, retribution, calls for those things are not Zedek. Emotions running wild, screaming, ranting, shouting, marching with violence and raised fist, that's never Zedek. The first priority of the covenant is Zedek, Zedek Tirdoch. Zedek, you are to follow, pursue after, and chase until you get it. Some English Bibles call it fairness or justness or justice. But believe me, beloved, it means to build a foundation upon which the kingdom can come. Well, there's so much more we could talk about, and I presume you will talk about it in your various different meetings on the Shabbat. I hope you understand that this is Moshe's dream, and I hope you've caught his vision. I hope as we read these things you understand your place, your role that you're assigned to play as being the shofet, the quote judge who brings Zedek into every conversation, every interaction, and begins to bring about the healing of the nations, the healing of the world, the healing of the bloodlines, and the healing of the individual hearts and souls. It's time for me to leave you now. Have a good Sabbath. Blessings to you, and I'll see you next week. Shabbat Shalom.